And on that note, cutting straight across to UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson speaking.
Only 6 nations possess nuclear-powered submarines. And to help another country join this tiny circle is a decision of the utmost gravity, requiring perhaps the closest relationship of trust that can exist between sovereign states. I hope I speak for the House when I say that I have no hesitation about trusting Australia, a fellow maritime democracy joined to us by blood and history, which stood by Britain through 2 world wars at immense sacrifice. Today, the UK and Australia defend the same interests, promote the same values, and face the same threats. We are as closely aligned in international policy as any 2 countries in the world. And one of the great prizes of this enterprise is that Australia, the UK, and the US will become inseparable partners in a project that will last for decades, creating opportunities for still greater defence and industrial cooperation. The integrated review of foreign and defence policy described Britain's renewed focus on the Indo-Pacific, a region that is fast becoming the geopolitical centre of the world, ever more important for British trade and therefore for British jobs and British livelihoods. If there was ever any question about what global Britain's tilt towards the Indo-Pacific would mean in reality, or what capabilities we might offer, then this partnership with Australia and the US provides the answer. It amounts to a new pillar of our strategy, demonstrating Britain's generational commitment to the security of the Indo-Pacific and showing exactly how we can help one of our oldest friends to preserve regional stability. It comes after the UK's success in becoming a dialogue partner of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and our application to join the Trans-Pacific Free Trade Area. At the same time, this project will create hundreds of highly skilled jobs across the UK, including in Scotland, the north of England, and the Midlands, reinforcing our industrial base and our national scientific expertise, exemplified by the British companies participating in this week's Defence and Security Equipment International event. A nuclear submarine programme exists within a different realm of engineering from any other marine project, requiring a mastery of disciplines ranging from propulsion to acoustics. In these fields and many others, we will have a new opportunity to strengthen Britain's position as a science and technology superpower, and by generating economies of scale, this project could reduce the cost of the next generation of nuclear submarines for the Royal Navy, helping us to renew our own capabilities. While our partnership will begin with nuclear power submarines, now that we have created AUKUS, we expect to accelerate the development of other advanced defence systems, including in cyber, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and undersea capabilities. This partnership will open a new chapter in Britain's friendship with our closest allies. It will help to safeguard the security of the Indo-Pacific, create jobs at home, and reinforce our country's place at the leading edge of technology, and I commend this statement to the House.
I now call the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I thank the Prime Minister for an advance copy of his statement. The recent events in Afghanistan show us how precarious international stability can be. New challenges can emerge, and issues in faraway corners of the globe can quickly turn into threats at home. So Labour welcomes increased cooperation with our allies. Australia and America are 2 of our closest security partners and sharing resources and intelligence with them and enhancing capabilities makes them safer, makes Britain safer and makes the world safer. The lessons of the past few weeks is that Britain must look after our most important relationships or our influence and security quickly decline. So, Mr. Speaker, Labour welcomes this announcement. But can I ask the Prime Minister to outline in a bit more detail what the agreement means in practice? The strategic review identified China as a systemic competitor, and China's assertiveness does pose risks to UK interests in a secure Pacific region, in stable trading environments, and in democracy and human rights. We need to deal with those risks, defend our values, and defend our interests. But the same review also rightly stated that the UK must maintain a commercial relationship with China, and we must work with them on the defining global issues of the day, like climate change and pandemic preparedness. Without diplomatic strategy and skill, those goals will come into conflict. So what plan does the Prime Minister have to ensure that this new arrangement increases rather than decreases our ability to influence China? In order to protect our security and interests, we also need to look after our broader alliances. NATO remains our most important strategic alliance. It is also the most successful. It's delivered peace and security in Europe for 3/4 of a century. And whatever the merits of an Indo-Pacific tilt, maintaining security in Europe must remain our primary objective. So can the Prime Minister guarantee that this arrangement will not see resources redirected from Europe and the High North to the Pacific? And can he guarantee that this arrangement will strengthen rather than weaken the NATO alliance, including our indispensable bilateral relationship with France? We are also in the Five Eyes intelligence sharing arrangement with Canada, New Zealand, Australia and the US, and that, of course, is vital to our security. So can the Prime Minister assure the House that this new trilateral arrangement will not weaken our intelligence capabilities by producing a two-tier Five Eyes operation? Finally, Mr. Speaker, this arrangement clearly brings potential economic opportunities for Britain. We need the well-paid, high-skilled jobs that the defence industry provides in every corner of Britain. The Prime Minister said this project will create hundreds of skilled jobs. So can the Prime Minister give more detail on what he's done to ensure that Britain gets its fair share of any contracts that come out of these arrangements? And what will he do to ensure that no region or nation in Britain misses out on any job opportunities that this arrangement may bring? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I thank the right honourable gentleman for his welcome of this statement and of AUKUS, and I just want to answer some of the detailed points that he made. And I think he began by asking whether it was in any sense adversarial to China and how we would manage the relationship with China. And I think it's important for the House to understand that AUKUS is not intended to be adversarial towards any other power, Mr. Speaker, but it merely reflects the close relationship that we have with the United States and with Australia, the shared values that we have, and the sheer level of trust between us that enables us to go to this extraordinary extent of sharing nuclear technology in the way that we are proposing to do. Obviously, we also have a shared interest in promoting democracy, human rights, freedom of navigation and freedom of trade around the world. And I think that those are values and perspectives that I hope the whole House will support. And on his point about NATO, the House should be in no doubt that this government's commitment to NATO is absolutely unshakable and indeed has been strengthened by the massive commitments we've made, the biggest uplift in defence spending since the Cold War, £24 billion, 2.2% of our GDP now goes on defence spending, Mr. Speaker, and he rightly raises the question of our relationship with France, our military relationship, with France, again, Mr. Speaker, is rock solid, and we stand shoulder to shoulder with the French, whether in the Sahel, where we are running a joint operation against terrorists in Mali, or whether in Estonia, where we currently we have the largest NATO operation. Now, Mr. Speaker, he asks reasonably about the jobs that this great project will unquestionably produce. What I can say is that there will be an 18-month scoping exercise to establish where the work should go between the three partners. But clearly, Mr. Speaker, there are deep pools of expertise throughout the United Kingdom, whether in Derby or Plymouth or Scotland or Barrow, Mr. Speaker. There is expertise across the United Kingdom, and I have no doubt whatever that it will bring hundreds of high-skilled, high-wage jobs of the kind that we want to see in our country and increasingly are seeing. And may I say finally, Mr. Speaker, that it is a pleasure to hear the change of heart about NATO from the right honourable gentleman. After I had to say this, Mr. Speaker, pain me though it does. After he was only recently campaigning to install a Prime Minister who actually wanted to withdraw from NATO, Mr. Speaker.
Can I now come to the chair of the Select Committee, Tobias Ellwood?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We must work with but stand up to China. This is about a more coordinated long-term strategy in challenging China's increasing hostile dominance in the South China Sea. But as the Prime Minister says, it's also a reminder of how we must work with alliances and rekindle an appetite to robustly defend international standards. So we cannot gloss over how bruised NATO now feels after the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I hope the Prime Minister would agree there is an opportunity for Britain to help.
We were listening into the proceedings in the UK Parliament just a short while after that crucial partnership was announced between the US, UK and Australia in a bid to counter China's growing influence over the Indo-Pacific region. The US, Britain and Australia established a new security partnership. This involves helping Canberra acquire nuclear-powered submarines. In a three-way virtual announcement from each of their capitals, the leaders stressed that Australia will not be getting nuclear weapons, but rather using propulsion systems for the vessels to guard against future threats. Morrison said that the submarines would be built in Adelaide in close cooperation with the US and Britain, and that Australia will continue to meet all their nuclear non-proliferation obligations.
Our world is becoming more complex, especially here in our region, the Indo-Pacific. This affects us all. The future of the Indo-Pacific will impact all our futures. To meet these challenges, to help deliver the security and stability our region needs, we must now take our partnership to a new level. A partnership that seeks to engage, not to exclude, to contribute, not take, and to enable and empower, not to control or coerce. And so, friends, AUKUS is born. A new enhanced trilateral security partnership between Australia, the United Kingdom and the United States. AUKUS, a partnership where our technology, our scientists, our industry, our defence forces are all working together to deliver a safer and more secure region that ultimately benefits all.
With China's increasing military build-up in the Indo-Pacific region, Washington and its allies are looking to push back against Beijing's growing power and influence. None of the three leaders, however, mentioned China, and US officials said that the move was not aimed at countering Beijing. Joe Biden, however, in his speech said that the new trilateral partnership was to address current environment in the region. Listen in.
Today, we're taking another historic step to deepen and formalize cooperation among all three of our nations, because we all recognize the imperative of ensuring peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific over the long term. We need to be able to address both the current strategic environment in the region and how it may evolve, because the future of each of our nations, and indeed the world, depends on a free and open Indo-Pacific enduring and flourishing in the decades ahead.
Australia also announced that it would acquire long-range US Tomahawk cruise missiles for the first time, further strengthening its military defenses. Scott Morrison, however, issued an open invitation to Chinese President Xi Jinping to discuss all issues important to the Indo-Pacific.
There is an open invitation for President Xi and I to discuss these and many other matters, and that has always been there. Australia remains open to discuss these and all issues that are important to the Indo-Pacific. I believe and I hope we would both share the same objective of a peaceful Indo-Pacific where the sovereignty and independence of nations is understood and respected, and that enables their own citizens to flourish. And that's what we all want. It is not an uncommon thing for countries to take decisions in their own strategic interests and to build up their defence capabilities. China makes the same decisions, as does other countries within our region. So I don't think that should be seen as necessarily extraordinary or in the terms that you suggested.
China, however, has reacted, calling the submarine deal extremely irresponsible, which will threaten the stability of the region.
美英向澳大利亚出口高度敏感的核潜艇技术，再次证明他们将核出口作为地缘政治博弈的工具，采取双重标准，这是极其不负责任的行径。
Also not particularly pleased was New Zealand. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said that New Zealand was uninterested in building nuclear-powered submarines and would not lift its decades-long ban on nuclear-powered vessels entering its waters.
But we have an independent foreign policy. We'll take our own view on foreign policy issues. We'll continue to make a contribution, but our lens is very much peace, stability and a rules-based order. That'll always be the case.
For now, US officials have not given a time frame for when Australia would deploy a nuclear-powered submarine or how many would be built. Australia currently does not have any nuclear infrastructure, so it would require a sustained effort over the years. The announcement comes just over a week before Joe Biden is to host a first in-person meeting of leaders of the Quad group of countries, Australia, India, Japan and the US, that Washington sees as a key means to counter China. These developments also favor India as they further strengthen opposition to China's influence in the region.
And of Australia, Prime Minister Johnson and President...
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.